Hi everybody, so I thought with all the excitement about the Fallout TV series, I should do a video about what is the best Fallout game to start playing in 2024 if you're excited and thinking, I want to get into this video game franchise. Why is it? What's that game all about? And what do you do? What can you expect when you dive in? So the quick question to this, in my opinion, is Fallout 4. Despite the fact that it's not the newest game in the franchise, I think it's definitely the best game to start playing and a great way into the franchise, and it's available on all the major platforms, and as long as you get it when it's in a sale, you get like the Game of the Year edition with all the extra DLC for a very reasonable price, and of course it runs incredibly well on everything because it's an older game. So now the longer answer as to why it's the best one in the Fallout franchise. And the important thing to remember is you don't need to play the Fallout games in order, because the stories that you play in the different Fallout games, they're not associated with the same characters. They all kind of pick different time scales in the Fallout universe after the nuclear apocalypse. You also don't need to know the Fallout lore and history, because basically what happens in Fallout 4, your character, although he emerges last in terms of time from the initial nuclear apocalypse, he's also very, very new in the fact that he's been in frozen cyber cryogenic hibernation. So he goes into his vault, they freeze him, and then he emerges. So for him or her, not much time has passed, although in the world a couple of 100 years has passed. Also, Fallout 4 is probably, at the time of making this video anyway, it's the last true single-player Fallout game. So there's no multiplayer elements to Fallout 4 at all. You just download it to your PC or your console, and you can play it through at your own pace. When you press pause, it pauses. There's no live service element or anything like that. Fallout 4 is also a truly massive game that will really immerse you in most of the aspects of the Fallout universe, and will amaze you with its size and scope. And I kind of said this before as well, but because we've had this gap now between the release and today, so at the time of this video, about 9 years, it looks and plays amazing. It looked amazing when it came out on consoles like the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One, but it didn't run that great. But with the newer consoles and more modern PCs, it looks and runs beautifully. And in fact, there is a Fallout 4 high-res texture pack you can download as well. So if you're running things at like 4K and stuff like that, it looks even better. And I, for example, have played it, on my gaming PC. It looks great on my Xbox. It looks great on my Steam Deck, and it looks great and runs smooth and runs beautifully. So what's it all about? Well, it's a post-apocalyptic, open world, single player, RPG, action, adventure game, which sounds, there's quite a mouthful, that, isn't it? But basically, Fallout 4 takes place 200 years after there's been this nuclear war that's destroyed most of the world. Your character has entered a nuclear shelter near Boston in the northeast of the USA just as the war has started, and then you were put into frozen hibernation. And 200 years later, you emerge from the shelter to begin your quest, which involves trying to find someone. Okay, I won't give the story away. And around you, as you emerge, the world is in ruins, but there are survivors. And many of them are grouped into different factions. Some will be friendly, some aren't. Some are trying to rebuild society, while others are enjoying the lawlessness and the anarchy that came with the breakdown of government and society. Some of the world is a desolate wasteland, some is small towns and villages, there's a city, some is underground, and there's lots of unusual places. But the map and the world you can explore really is massive and dense as well. So what do you do in the game? Well, there's 5 main aspects, you could say, to Fallout 4. There's the main quest story, which is kind of driving you along. And then as you're wandering around and doing the main quest story and meeting people and exploring, you'll get side quests to go off and do. There's also just general exploration, so you can just wander around this world and discover things. And a big part of it is settlements. So settlements are almost a separate part of the game, which is a bit like a Sims experience, where you can create these settlements in set areas and attract NPCs. And then some of them become farmers, some of them become soldiers, some of them become traders or doctors, and they will then gather loot, if you like, from the surrounding area that you can then take advantage of, and you can build defences, build houses for them, build beds, build defensive turrets, all this sort of stuff. And it's very, very enjoyable as well. And then the final bit is the RPG element, which is levelling up. So this is an RPG, but don't let that put you off. The idea with this is that as you're playing through the game and doing things, your XP, your experience points go up. And then you can apply those to different parts of your character. So you could say, I want my character to become stronger or faster or better at hacking computers, or maybe they're more influential when they talk to people, so you get better prices from traders, or if you're trying to convince someone to do something, you've got more chance of that. Or maybe you've got more luck, so that when you're looking for loot, you're more likely to find money or ammunition or something like that. And that's the RPG bit. But don't get too concerned about that. As long as the numbers go up, it doesn't matter that much. And with these games, I tend to recommend, if you're just dipping your toe in for the first time, set the difficulty to easy and just enjoy it. The other thing I'd say is that if you're coming from a gaming background where you're used to just sort of mainlining the main quest, say you come from, say, Call of Duty, where there isn't really any side quests in a Call of Duty campaign, you just work your way through it, don't you? Well, with this, often the most fun you will have is in those side quests and in that exploration as you're wandering around. And so you do want to take the time to do all that stuff. Now, sometimes, because of the story that is inherent in the main quest, you might think, well, isn't there some sort of time limit that I'm up against? But of course, video games are video games, and in order to make them fun, they take those time limits out. So although the main story might be quite urgent, what you should be doing, you don't have to crack on. You can go and do all this other stuff and then come back to the main quest when you want to. If you wanted to complete it, it would take you about 80 hours. So that sounds like a long time. But, you could mainline the main quest, or you could take even longer to all the side stuff. Or actually what you could do is you could dip your toe in, level up a little bit, get some resources, and you might find yourself getting really stuck into just exploration and building settlements, because it is pretty addictive, to be honest, as well. So that's kind of the reasons why, you would want to play Fallout 4. And kind of what to expect when you dive in. But you might also say, well, what's next then? What can I do after Fallout 4? Or if I play Fallout 4 for a bit and I think that was nice, but I want to explore some of the other parts of the Fallout universe. Well, the newer game, at the time of recording this video anyway, is Fallout 76. The problem with Fallout 76 is, I think originally it was meant to be kind of an interim Fallout experience, not a full game. Because it's a live service game, and when it first came out there was no NPCs giving you quests or interacting in the game. It was like a kind of almost like an empty wilderness that you went into, and the idea was that you'd have these servers with, say, I think up to sort of 12 other players on, and then you would work with the other players in order to complete quests, but it wasn't what the Fallout community wanted from a Fallout game. They wanted NPCs to talk to and give them quests. So that stuff has all been brought into the game now, and it's still getting updates to this day. So undoubtedly they've turned it around, but sometimes as you're playing it, you do sometimes think, well, this feels like it's been tacked on a bit. Also, it's arguable that sometimes it doesn't look as good as Fallout 4. Other times it looks amazing. It's in a very different part of the North American country than Fallout 4, but it does look good at some point. So I would say maybe that's next. Then you've got Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas. Now these are much older. These came out in the Xbox 360, PlayStation 3 era. However, some would argue that the stories in Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas are actually better than Fallout 4 and definitely better than Fallout 76. So once you're kind of embroiled in the love of the Fallout universe, if you can kind of look past the basicness of the graphics in Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas, they are very, very good games to play. And just as massive, really, as Fallout 4. It really is quite impressive what they did with these old games. And especially if you're on something like a Steam Deck or a portable device, they're actually really good because they don't take up much space. Then you go back to Fallout 1. and Fallout 2. Now they're really old. We're looking 25 years old, and these are different. These aren't first-person or third-person games. These are isometric RPGs. You can play them. They do work on PC. But it is a bit of a challenge. So I think maybe they'll be quite low on the list. They would be the last games you would want to play if you were like a completionist, you know, and you've drained everything you could out of Fallout 4 and Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas and even Fallout 76. And you were like, no, I need more Fallout. Then you would go back and play those. So for me, finally, you know, if you want to know what is the best Fallout game to play in 2024, definitely Fallout 4. Remember to get the Game of the Year edition. And just enjoy playing, you know, one of the greatest video games of all time. Anyway, that's enough from me. What do you think? Put your questions and comments down below, and I will, of course, see you again soon.